Good morning. Good morning. Java Delight will uplift you. Stay tuned. The show is about to begin. Grab your coffee. Stay tuned. This show is about to begin.
Hi, good morning, everybody. How are we doing? My name is Gavin Kerr, and I am here on Java Delight. It is a beautiful morning outside. It's absolutely nice. Clear skies. It's sunny where I'm at. I don't know where you're at. It might not be sunny there, but if it isn't, then go enjoy the rain. Go make yourself a nice cup of tea or some evening wine or just a nice warm cup of coffee and enjoy that storm. But for those who are living in sunny places like I am right now, for once in Ohio, then enjoy it. Get some fresh air out there. How's everybody doing? Who do we have today? Brandon is on his way right now. He was having some technical difficulties with his computer, so he left me in charge. So I'm just going to sort of play around with my mind and just kind of say whatever I think. Your bones are wet. Ever think of that? Me either till right now. We have Manny Atterbury in the house. OMG Squirrel. Brian Tracy. By the way, Brian, good game. He and I were playing a very close, very intense game. We were playing a very close and intense game of Scrabble last night. It was getting heated. So, but I just beat him by like 9 points or something. I just barely got him. So, Brian, I got the next game set up. I have not taken my turn yet because the show needed to start. We got Jessica Dugas in the background, showing us some of the support. She will be on later today for the breakthrough show. And Renee Bush. Renee's always sending me. She still sends me fun little clips in the morning. The like comic strips. I got little puns in them, and it really does make my day. I don't always reply to them, but I always try to leave a little heart so she knows that I see them and that I do enjoy them. They do really brighten my day. Thank you so much for those. What have I been up to lately? I've been enjoying my bed. That huge bed that I made the other day. It's nice. Somehow I accidentally made it so the front mattress, because it's two twin beds, but instead of having them like long ways, I put them sideways so that way the crack would be going opposite of my body so I wouldn't fall into it. And the front mattress, no matter which way I put them, which way I flip them, the front mattress is just ever so slightly taller than the back mattress. And at first I thought that'd be an issue, but I found that it elevates my legs a little bit and makes it nicer to sleep. I don't have any I wake up feeling very refreshed in the morning because all the blood is in my head. But then if I stand up really fast, I pass out.
So the fun thing is, I know what you're talking about. I know I'm the one that's like been having computers and helping mom issues and why I'm late. But I think that's not safe that your feet are up too high that you're almost passing out.
No. No, they're up like not even a full inch. They're up like half an inch. I'm saying when I sleep or lay down for a long time, and then I stand up really fast. Okay. Then I pass it because the blood rushes out of my head and everything. It happens too if I'm sitting on the couch for too long and get up too fast. Like,
I got you. Okay, that makes more sense. In my head, I'm sitting there going, dude, I'm coming over today to help you fix your bed. We're gonna just saw it down just a little.
I think, you know what? I think it might be the box springs. I didn't even think about that till now. It might be the box springs are slightly different. I don't know.
How do I look?
Pretty fly for a white guy.
I took my mom and I out for breakfast. And
Oh, that's sweet. Where'd you go?
just a small little hole in the wall diner out here in Paynesville that she and I like. The reason I like this show so much is because for me, breakfast is the most important meal of the day. It's how you start your day. It's everything, but it really does when you choose good things. Like my mom and I woke up to do yoga this morning, and this is why I'm grateful. Like I know I'm late, and the other reason I have sunglasses on is, you guys should see my new setup. I had so much fun. I have 2 of those like daylight lights. Okay.
Yeah.
Going, and then 3 other lights. All I do is flip a switch and it's like the sun shines in here. So the sunglasses went on because God, is it bright in here.
Oh my God. I have 2 office lights from Walmart.
Ooh.
And then I just have really bright light bulbs.
There we
go. Like the white fluorescent ones. The ones they used to like have in schools, that would give you migraine headaches and you just felt like you were in prison. Yeah. Those guys.
I feel that was intentional for all of us. Like we were meant to sit there and think we were going to be going to prison one day, especially public. No, I'm just kidding. Gavin's face was like, "What?"
Yeah. Well, no. If you think about it, like
you and I are so
public schools, public schools and everything, the way that they're set up between the way the buildings are and then how the schedule is, it's factory work. It's set up to make you comfortable and used to a factory setting. You hear the bell ring, you go to lunch for half an hour, you hear the bell ring, you go back to class, you're on orderly fashion.
Because I can't follow rules.
Probably, yeah.
Like they hated me. My teachers hated how I couldn't sit still, but loved me as a person. I always had an A for effort.
Yeah. I remember in high school, I did go to my classes and I did pass them with pretty decent grades for the most part. But I always remember just like walking around all the time and eating food. Like I remember one time I literally showed up to my geometry class with a full plate of spaghetti and meatballs, garlic bread, and then a glass of tea, like an actual. It looked like I brought it from home. I don't remember where the hell I got it from. I think one of the teachers gave it to me because she brought it. It was leftovers. But I had like this entire Italian dinner that I brought to class, and it was the student teacher. It was her evaluation day, and I walked in like 5 minutes late with all this food, and she's teaching the class, and her supervisor is just staring at me, and she doesn't even acknowledge me. She's like, "I'm not doing it today. I'm not dealing with this kid every damn day." She came into Chipotle when I still worked there and cussed out my cashier, actually. Yeah, because something was wrong with her order. And I guess she was having a bad day. People have bad days. You know what happens. Overall, she seemed like she was a nice woman. I didn't really know her that well. But she just came in and was just freaking out about him. And all I remember was her just yelling, "This is my dinner. Do you understand that?" I'm like, "We're a restaurant, miss? I'm pretty sure we get it."
Wow.
Yeah, crazy seeing people outside of the classroom and inside the classroom.
I remember when my mom became friends with my 5th grade teacher. It got weird. Because, like, you see the teacher outside of the classroom, it is so freaking bright. Like, I'm going to have to move this back. Like, it's driving me nuts. I have to have the hat on because my eyes are like...
Just turn one of them off.
That's the thing. If I stand up and I start touching things, it's going to fall. Like, I can't touch it until after the show. I just have to... Yeah. But let's get into what we're grateful for and start our day. You and I are like ADD. Yeah. Want to be inspired this morning? Join Java Delight in about 20 minutes. We'll be chatting with Miss Jessica Dugas. And that's not a question, and I can read out loud. The second middle of me reading that.
Oh, so, no, I muted you so I could cough, but I was going to mute me.
Oh, my God. You and I are on a roll this morning. This is going to be a great show. Woo! I hope Jessica's ready. We're going to be handing it off.
silly.
Like, dude, I just want to say I am honestly, what I'm grateful for is there's been a lot that's happened in the last few days. And while not everybody's having the best time in the world, I'm trying my best to be out and doing what can be done in angry times, and you guys just keep showing up, and that's why we keep showing up. And I just want to thank you guys and anybody who's watching. I'm grateful for you guys. I took my mom out to breakfast this morning, and she was going on about how grateful she is that I came home, and it was the most genuine thing she said to me in years, because she and I were just connecting, and she and I are agreed we're going to wake up tomorrow earlier than I usually do and go out and do yoga. And I wake up already at like 6:30, depending on the day, sometimes 5:30.
Yeah.
And she literally was like, no, I'll wake up with you and let's do some yoga. So tomorrow morning we have our alarm set. So it's just taking a step and believing in yourself. Sometimes it's hard, but you never know what's going to happen, and you might fix things along the way. I'm so grateful I'm here, and I'm building the best company I can with people who want to see the best change in people. So I woke up this morning and just felt amazingly grateful. It could have been the bath last night. I took my first bath in like years.
Nice. I don't really take baths. And when I take baths, I take baths when I'm sick. And they're very basic baths. It's just a tub of hot water. I don't get fancy with the candles and stuff like that. Like when Crystal used to scare the piss out of me. I would come home and I would say, hey, honey, I'm home and stuff like that, and I would get no answer. And like I'd walk around the house and everything's like all dark and turned off. So I'm like, oh, I guess she just isn't home. And then I go in the bathroom to take a leak, and she'd be in there in the complete dark with a bunch of candles on in the bath. And I just saw like the seance, like, oh, like it scared the hell out of me because she wouldn't respond when I was calling her name. And then I just see this naked, beautiful woman in my tub with a bunch of candles. I'm like, okay.
Have you ever done that?
Lit camp? No, not for myself.
Dude, oh my God. All right, so we're going to have a quick conversation. Jessica, I might pull you into this one if you give me a thumbs up. Self-love is not selfish when you take a bath. Like, my chair keeps going.
Oh, yeah, no, I know that. It's not that I'm against it. It's just not my cup of tea.
Hold on, homie G. Self-love is not self-love just because you're taking a bath. Dude, get some Epsom salts in there. Get yourself a little foot scrubby thingy-majiggy. Jessica, if you want to jump in this, tell me if you ever do this. I'll pull you in. Just give me that thumbs up. All right, all right, here we go. Jessica Dugas, ladies and gentlemen, before her segment, we'll give her music at the right time. Tell us about the fact, like, when you take self-care. Like, yesterday, I did a face mask. I did the works yesterday because I wanted to feel love of myself. And I almost killed myself, I'll be honest.
What, did you suffocate yourself with the face mask? You put it over your nostrils by accident?
No, I did my whole head from, like, here all the way back to the back of my neck, okay? And then I said, yep, I had lavender. Renee Bush gets it. Boom. I did lavender oils too. You know it. I had a bubble bath, just so we're clear. I had 5 different candles of stress relief candles from Bath & Body Works going. Then I turned around and I had Bob's Burgers episode, the new one, playing on my phone right there, standing up. Oh, I was just like, it's a half-hour show. No commercials. I'm all happy. Here's the issue. The water was a little too hot and the mask got a little too hard. So when I went to wash it off, I got extremely lightheaded and thought I was going to pass out. So I like leaned out of the tub. I'm like, I got downstairs and an hour later, I was still sweating.
Listen, you have to be careful. You have to be careful with this stuff. Okay? Because a lot of people, okay. So what had happened was.
Here we go. Go. Bring it to me, Jess.
Wow.
A couple years ago. I thought I was gonna get this nice, like, scrub and do the whole scrub in the shower. Nice to get like the dead skin off and to get the oils going and everything else. That shit is slippery. Okay. And so I literally fell and gave myself a minor concussion.
Oh my God, you poor thing.
Fell and it was it was like a built-in shower. It was all like went from the floor in the bathroom right into the shower. But see, they weren't smart. Like when my grandparents did that kind of renovation, there was no like lip or anything. You literally walk right into the shower. It was to help my grandfather to get his chair in there when he had a stroke and all of that. But no, this house that we were renting, there was like this metal lip there. So when I went down, I not only hit the tile, but my leg hit the metal lip that was there going. I'm telling you, self-care can be dangerous. Use your head, people. Use your head.
Not
Yeah, you two
literally,
have
though.
very different like versions of self-care. I feel like I have a very minimalistic self-care thing. For me, self-care is like shampooing my hair, using my soap, and then doing my morning face routine and brushing my teeth. That is self-care for me. So like it's like because I have curly hair, so I can only like really wash it a couple times a week. So when I get to do it, I'm like, yeah, this is nice. I get to use shampoo and conditioner today. Like,
How often do you shave?
how often do I shave? Well, right now, because PMTM wants me to be clean shaven. So beforehand, I was only shaving, and I was only doing like the sides where it doesn't grow very much. I was doing it maybe like once a week, and then now it's more. Yeah, now it's still like once or twice a week is when like I shave just to keep it all clean.
Okay.
Like I have a stubble right now. I probably could shave today, but I'm gonna be lazy and I'll probably do it tomorrow or the next day.
Okay, just checking.
Yeah.
You guys always can know where I'm at. Like you'll see the horseshoe like by the end of this episode if I decided to leave it.
We
Like
see it now. I have a feeling I'm going. Bye. Oh,
Oh,
not
he
me.
just went. Yep.
For sure. I thought for sure it was going to be like the Gong Show, like
No,
Gong
he
and
just
I'm out.
Yeah, I do a very minimal
Okay, I'm
self-care.
back.
Yeah. Like I think self-care for it's funny because like self-care for me is like and it's like cooking for myself, which is weird because I live alone, so I always cook for myself. And even when Crystal and I were together, I always cooked. So like just stuff like that. I guess like if I cook myself dinner, but then I also make a pot of tea instead of getting the tea that's already made in the fridge. Like that's
Yep,
like
Jessica, do
self-care
this.
for me.
I call on Jessica.
I was pulling a Brandon there for a minute.
Yeah.
You
Just
guys
trying to,
like when I do that, but then you make it. I'm gonna take it today. I'm gonna just. be
y'all,
me today.
I just want to tell everybody that's watching, even behind the scenes and in our team meetings and whatnot for Java Delight, that's Brandon all day.
Yeah.
Pick me.
Like, well, because okay, you know how you can like tie something on your finger and it's like a reminder to do it. You can
Yeah.
set something in your phone. I'm doing everything I can to. All my work goes on the computer, and my phone is only when I need to because I don't want to. They want you to touch it all day, and I don't want to touch it all day. Like I have other things I can touch all day, like work and my laptop. And wow, you took that the wrong way, Miss Jessica. Gavin's face is saying it too. I might have just lined that joke up just for you two to make a face, but the truth is, trying to get away from it and not responding to everything and just making sure I get what I need to done through organization.
That's self-care.
Yeah, exactly. And that's something that I'm really leaning into lately because I can't give to everybody else if I can't take care of Brandon. Brandon needs to be organized, on top of it, clean, and he needs to love himself enough that he's not afraid to take a bath and watch Bob's Burgers.
Well, let me have a moment with this whole self-care thing because there was a post God, it was right at the beginning of when I started doing the breakthrough show that I had seen on social media, and we immediately went to talk about it on the show because I was so fired up. Somebody had made the comment, and I can't remember for the life of me where it came from now, but somebody had made the comment, real self-care is saying no, so, balancing your checkbook, doing the, and you know why that pissed me off? Because real self-care is whatever anybody needs to do in the moment. So I had made a TikTok recently where I had done my lashes. By the way, shout out to Brains Beauty and More LLC for my beautiful lashes this morning. So I'd done a TikTok though, where I was talking about real self-care can be boundaries. It can also be sitting and taking the time to do your makeup and you don't have anywhere to go. Like you're just doing it for you, So I think anybody, whether we're talking about self-care being boundaries or saying no or balancing your checkbook, or if anybody even does that anymore, or doing your makeup, taking a bath, getting a pedicure. It doesn't matter which side of that you fall in on. Self-care is whatever you need to do in the moment to make yourself feel good. So it really bothers me when people come in and say real self-care is no.
Did I say that?
No, but I'm making the point though, because we're talking about it, because Gavin was talking about my level of self-care is clearly different than what yours is. Mine is different depending on the day,
I agree. 100% agree. So Jessica Dugas, your self-care recently are those eyelashes, which I just have to point out again because they really are beautiful. Like I honestly,
you're like a Disney princess.
You are Princess Jessica, Princess Bigby.
Look at this stuff, isn't it neat? Wouldn't you think my collection's complete? No, I'm not going to go there today.
Wouldn't you think I'm the girl
that has eyelashes?
100% awesome by Brett Gordon. Businesses are people too. So guys, give us what you're grateful for this morning, or tell us how you self-care, but in appropriate ways.
Not concussions, people. That's not how we do that.
Concussions. I don't want anything about like no self-love and touching things all day yourself. Okay.
I mean, that's valid.
Honestly, if you're gonna use that as a thing,
someone's got to do it.
Use it in emojis and see how well you can do it with an emoji. That way, we're not having to do it. Give me a laugh. All right.
I feel like that's almost worse than just saying it.
Nope, because I'd have to read it. I can't read it if I have to guess what it says.
I don't know. That is like a visual description now.
Okay. So, Jessica Dugas, how are you?
I'm fabulous.
Yes. So we have a pretty good show today coming up. We actually planned a little bit more than we usually do, and we talked about this. I'm excited for this episode. So you're going to talk to us about overcoming adversity today.
Yes.
Can you elaborate on what that is going to be like? Because that's a big topic.
It is a big topic. And the reason why it's a big topic, and we touched on this a little bit when you and I had our conversation yesterday, is that everybody processes adversity, that word of adversity, and whatever they've been through in their lives a completely different way. It's the same thing as such a beautiful segue talking about the different forms of self-care into this topic of adversity, because at the end of the day, no matter what topic we talk about, everybody's perspective of that a word or what they've gone through is something completely different. And so I've been doing the Breakthrough Show. It'll be 3 years in July. I can't believe it's coming up to that 3-year birthday already. But every single person that comes on the show, I have been absolutely fascinated asking the question, what makes you different? What if you could have had a drug problem and somebody else had a drug problem, and you might be completely clean and living your best life now and sharing about it and writing a book and doing all this other stuff, and somebody else may still be struggling with that addiction. What makes you different? Why you? Why is it something? Because it's really become a fascinating topic to me. Is it something that you're born with that makes you push through, be a person that pushes through? Is it something that you're taught? Is it the support system you have? Is it the level of challenge that you have? What is it that makes it different? And so when we talk about adversity, we could be talking about a lot of different things. We can be talking about something that you went through that's circumstantial, so something that happens in your life. It could be something that you are born with, maybe like the beautiful ladies that you had on your show that are deaf, and it could be something, a health issue that you have. It could be grief that you experienced. It could be losing a job. It could be simply that you have trouble waking up in the morning. Like, there could be so many different things that can be shown or referred to as adversity. And I think the one thing that I want to start off with, because I know that a lot of people are watching this show and also watch my show that are leaders that consider themselves to be people that like to set a good example. Being better leaders, we have to stop saying that one thing, one situation, one part of adversity is worse than another. Because you really don't know. You and I could be handed the same situation that would say you and I both lose our jobs the same time.
Yeah.
we could handle that very differently. And so does it make one worse than the other? No, it just, we all have different tools. We all have different personalities. We all process it in very different ways. So I would start by having everybody ask themselves, what does adversity mean to you? What does a life challenge look like to you? What do you consider to be adversity in your life? And then say, well, first of all, we can go back to basics and say, we've all gotten through every bit of adversity that we've ever been through because we're here right now.
Ooh, she just mic dropped that. She really did. Like, I'm going to do this just because of it. Guys, don't forget to follow Jessica Dugas at the Breakthrough Show right here. Oops, wrong button. And then, like, no, for real, though. That was a great segue, Jessica. All right, keep going, girl. You're preaching today. I'm loving it. Like, I was going to make a joke about how you came in hot. Like, you came in ready for this. You were like, so adversity, let me do it. And I'm sitting here going, whew, all right, Brandon. Deep breaths. Like, I mean,
it's good. It's a good topic. And because you can really get I am such a people watcher, and like, I'm fascinated by human behavior. I'm fascinated by the choices that people make. And I think how that's shifted over time is when I was younger, I would be fascinated. And then I'd be all, Judgey Jessica behind the scenes. Like, I can't believe they did that. Oh my God. And now it's from a place of, wow, like, they did that. What made them do that? What brought them to that space? Yeah. When we started going through a lot of the stuff that we did last year as a collective, I don't even have to name it all. There's a laundry list of things, not just COVID, but a whole bunch of stuff. And I would find myself being triggered by different things that were going on. And I would ask myself, what must that person have had to go through in order to get to that space that they're at?
Yep.
Yeah.
That's
and it changes everything.
But the thing is, you have to be willing to have that answer too. That's
right.
Looking at yourself in a mirror. It's the same thing. You have to be able to know that what you're going to. Sorry, I wrote Judgey Jessica down because I want to remember it. I actually laughed because I had a friend named Judy. And I called her Judgey Judy all the time. And whenever she was angry, we had the Judy effect where she would take over a room. So sorry, I read it and I lost my train of thought. But like yesterday, one of the things that you brought up is how everybody is doing it differently. And for me, I know that, like, going back into the self-care, I don't usually take baths. I don't usually have the candles going into a face mask. That for me, it just felt like the right thing yesterday for self-love. But at the same point, for dealing with adversities, I think it's situational, obviously, but at the same point, being able to know you're in that moment and you're facing adversity is a moment for you to have a realization with yourself, to really stop and make sure you're not going to be overreacting and having more emotional of a response compared to a understanding a response.
Right.
Because like today, like I said, I knew I was going to be like right on time. And then when the computer didn't turn on, I was like, son of a... No, I'm sitting here going, the universe was aligning because the guy did not want to do the speed limit, all this other stuff. And I'm like, okay, I am the leader. I can't be late. I shouldn't have taken my mom out, all this stuff. And I'm in my head. And then somebody stops at a green light in front of me. And I'm like, this was adversity. And I realized at that moment, that person was lost. I'm the one that's at fault for me being late. I need to accept this and not fly around them and then have them honk and yell and flip me off, because it could be, what if they end up going straight as well instead of turning? They would have hit me. And then I wouldn't make it to the show. So I like had that moment of shit. I'm glad we're talking about adversity today, because it woke me into that moment and said, all right, this is your fault, Brandon. Accept it and keep going, and you'll get there when you get there. And I just wonder how many times in a day we don't even catch that.
Well, I mean, one of the biggest things when it comes to adversity is awareness. We have to be aware of what we're going through. And how do we become aware? We have to be more present. We have to learn to be in the moment. And that is a life thing for everybody. I would challenge anybody that says, oh, I'm so present all the time. Bullshit. Because this is why. Because number one, we get so focused on what we've done in the past. I mean, we even see it with, like, Brandon, you were talking the other day about a hypnosis session. When we do hypnosis, essentially we dive into the past. When we do therapy, we dive into the past. When we're coaching with someone, we can, not all coaches, but some coaches bring us into, well, what have you done up until this point? Okay. So we're looking at all this stuff in the past. The other part of us is going, I can't wait till tomorrow. What does our future look like? Vision boards. Let's envision what we want for our life. What right now, what happens right in this moment, both honors the past and honors the future with the choices that you make. What you do right now honors the past, because everything you're doing now is paying homage to everything that you've learned up until this point. And everything that you do in this moment is honoring the future because of the choices that you're making to get there. So this moment right now is all that really matters. It doesn't, every second, every word that you say, that's the only thing that really matters in the moment. Is there value in looking at the past so you don't repeat it? Absolutely. Is there value in envisioning the future so you know which direction you're going? Absolutely. But when it comes to dealing with adversity in your life and how am I going to get through this, what's right in this moment, what choices are you going to make? What are you going to choose to do right now? Kawan Glover is one of the guests that I have on the Breakthrough Show on Friday. And y'all, I just finished editing the episode and we barely scratched the surface of what this young man has been through in his life. He had the main segment that we talk about on my show. The focus from my show was when he had a brain surgery, followed by stroke, followed by more brain surgery when he was in high school. You guys, what were you doing in high school?
Trying to get laid.
What were you worried about in high school? Okay. And so he went through all of this stuff. And then there's my hubby.
That was where was, oh my God, squirrel for that moment for both of us.
I know. But he went through all this stuff in his life. And then because of that moment, like, he's dealt with suicide, depression, narcotics addiction, major debt, like financial things and everything else. All of this stuff happened. And he said something when I was going through the editing process. I asked him this question that we're talking, you're going to hear this on Friday's show. I said, what is it that makes you different? Because I'm always curious when people come on this show. Somebody else might have had a stroke and gone through and just given up. And you know what? Let me just say, while it's there, it's okay to do that. If that's your journey and that's what you feel like you need to do, you need to just stop and not do any, then just do that. You can't. Is it what those of us who love you and care about you looking in want you to do? No. But you got to do what you're feeling drawn to do in the moment. Nobody can live your life for you. But Kawan said he feels like he has always been quietly arrogant. He has always felt like
that's interesting.
I can get through anything. He said he's this little, 5'8", not a lot of weight at all. And he was like, I was lifting weights with the big guys in school, like, I didn't care that I didn't look like them. I didn't care that I probably couldn't lift those weights, but I would do it anyway because I told myself I'm just like them. I can get through whatever I want. And so he said he felt like he always was quietly arrogant, that there's something that's always been within him since as long as he can remember to just do it. Now, he also had a support system. He also had people, he has a really cool story about spending time with his grandmother, which you'll hear on the show on Friday. He had a great support system. He had people that were encouraging him. But when he had all of this happen, he also got to that space of, what am I doing with my life? I've done what everybody else has wanted me to do up to this point, and now it's time to do what I need to do and do what I'm drawn to do. He said this quote, "It's not your fault, the things that have happened, but it is your responsibility to make a decision to continue that fight and finish it to achieve the victory you want in your life."
Wow.
No.
Jessica,
It's not your fault, but
Jessica,
it's your responsibility.
Jess is coming in here dropping some knowledge today. Like she's like, guys, I'm tired of playing around. It's time to change the damn world. Follow what I say. Just do it. Like so. All right, Kwan. I want to make sure I said the right name. Amazing already. Like I'm already fascinated. I'm going to be watching the show. So tell everybody quickly, because I want to get back into the adversity and ask. I have a question for Gavin after this.
Yeah.
It's gonna come back around. I'm just trying to make him talk.
Well, I have questions to ask, but you won't shut your damn mouth.
Jessica and I are on our own like time. All right, fine.
I know. I'm letting you do your thing.
How will you overcome that adversity, Gavin?
Yeah. Just be patient. Just be patient and wait.
Friday is going to be the release of this, correct?
Yep. Yes.
At what time?
It's at 12 p.m. Central Time, 1 p.m. Eastern.
Okay. Very cool. And where can people find it?
You can watch it on the Breakthrough Show on Facebook, or the Breakthrough Show, or the Breakthrough Show Network on Facebook, or the Breakthrough Show on YouTube. And you can also look for the E360 TV app on any streaming device you have.
Awesome. And look at that. I figured out how to overcome this adversity. You just muted his microphone. That was pretty easy. It was almost effortless.
You can do it.
Yeah, I can. See, where there is a will, there is a way. With all these things that he has overcome and everything, how much of that do you think is nature and how much do you think is nurture? Because he has a mindset, but it is a very, very different mindset than most people would have, or the average person would have in this situation. Most people are frustrated and get pissed off when they're, stuck in traffic or something like that. And like, thankfully, Brandon was able to, recuperate and think to himself, all right, think from their perspective, but a lot of people don't do that. So how much is natural, but how much do you think has to be learned over time and even self-taught once you're old enough to mentally be able to be self-aware properly? Because children are very selfish usually for the most part. We think about ourselves first and then others. So how much do you think is nature and how much do you think is nurture to develop that sort of mindset?
I honestly, with all of the interviews that I've done with people over the last couple of years, and then specifically about Kawan, I don't believe it is one or the other. I think it's this beautiful meshing of both. Because you look at people who have kind of always been one way, but never really had the tools, and they might make it. Or you look at somebody who wasn't really born, like if you look at me as an example, I was not a born organized person at all. I'm very organized now because I've had to train myself to be that way, because I've put in the work and it's been serious work to do it, to get to that space in my life. So you can look at several of these examples of people that have been on the show and say, well, there's nothing that really adds up here as being like the one thing. Were they just born with it? What was it, something that they learned over time? I know in Kawan's case, there was a lot of different things. He had that, as he called it, quiet arrogance within himself that he always had. But he also mentioned having a support system. He also mentioned at one point his father being a very hard worker, and even if his father didn't teach him anything, he saw it. There is a concept that has been top of mind for me. My very first guest of the Breakthrough Show this season was a fantastic man, Daniel Bruce Levin. Daniel changed my life the beginning of this season. He has a book called The Mosaic, and it's a story that follows a young man who loses his father, and he's trying to figure out, like, what do I even do? Like, what do I do now? And he goes into kind of this survival mode, and he every chapter of the book, he meets a different person along the way, and he takes something from that person, and he's on this mission to find heaven. He's like, somebody said his dad went to heaven. He's like, where's that? I don't understand, whatever. And what he finds out is he's going through, I won't give it all away, but he takes something from each of these people. And it's the idea that we are made up of a little piece of every single person we ever come in contact with. We are made up of a little piece of every single character that we read about, person we see on TV. We take little things from all of these people in our lives. And funny enough, there is actually a TikTok viral TikTok trend that is going around right now called the mosaic. And it's people sharing about all of these different, like they'll say, I eat vegan because my girlfriend did in one time and told me it was good. So now I do. And I don't really know why. And I tie my right shoe first because my grandpa did. And he said it was good luck. You know, little things that we do in our lives that we don't even know why we do them sometimes, but it just becomes who we are. And it's this beautiful, like, if you think about that, like, God, that's good. That is so good and yummy. And it's just.
Do you ever realize when you're doing something like that and then purposefully do the opposite? Like instead of tying your right shoe, tie your left shoe first?
And then it doesn't feel right.
Exactly, yeah. But I like doing that because I do recognize when I do those little things. And sometimes I will just not do that little quirk that I have because it makes me feel uncomfortable. But I kind of enjoy that a bit. It makes me feel like I'm living from a new perspective for at least that moment.
Yeah, and I mean that's part of it too. Sorry, Brandon. When we're going through, you know,
how's it feel?
Connecting with all these people. If we find ourselves in a space where we are challenged in dealing with the adversity in our lives, or we find ourselves in a space where we're being triggered by a lot of things, or we don't feel like we're growing forward, maybe we need to pull from different sources, if you will. Try something different, talk to a new person. Go ahead, Brandon.
So this leads me to go to actually where I was going to go with Gavin, the nature versus nurture. But I think it goes to even more of who you surround yourself with. You want to not swear as much. You want to not drink as much. You want to, whatever it may be, whatever your might be, you surround yourself with people that are doing it. You're just going to keep doing it. You have to like start eliminating things. So that's nature for yourself because it's nurturing yourself without the nature around you, and goes back to self-care, love. Jeez, today we're just looping it all around. But we talked about this yesterday a little bit, and I wanted to be able to go into a little more how nature versus nurture really does affect it, and like how it can be for people with adversity. And that's why understanding others' perspectives is different. Gavin, you were the one that brought this up yesterday. You said how it affects nature versus nurture affects adversity. And your comment was about how we all have different ways, and you have an answer to something that maybe I don't handle well. And Jessica is just like, oh, why you guys even talking about this, and moved along, you know?
Well, I think siblings are a great way to see nature versus nurture. Like I know I have a lot of little siblings, and my one sibling, Aiden, he and I are the only two that have the same parents. Everybody else is either some sort of like step sibling or half sibling or something like that. But he and I have the same parents. We've grown up together our whole lives, and we always lived together as well. And we grew up with two completely different mentalities about what is and isn't okay morally, and how we react to certain situations. And we're just two as opposite as you could get people-wise.
And that's pretty interesting. I think of twins. I know a bunch of people who are twins, like for real. We have a city in Ohio called Twinsburg, and once a year they have a twin event where twins from around the world come and be twinny. For real though. But the thing is, like, I've met a lot of people who are twins, and what's interesting to me is how different they are. I talk about the company. It's funny, Eon, the hand spray company. I met the owners of this. It's twin brothers. But if they were on screen right now and they just had their first names up, you would not think they're brothers. And then when you see how they talk, how different they are, and they grew up in the same house, twins, all of it. And it's funny because they do the older younger thing too. Yeah, he's older. Wait, what? You're twins? Yeah, like a minute and a half older. And I'm like, oh my God, but they do that. But nature versus nurture, how it changes things and how you would never know it. And I didn't think they were brothers. I just thought they were business partners. When I found out they were twins, I had to ask for their driver's license because everybody can be different. I did too. Like they thought that was so weird. And I'm like, I don't care if you think it's weird. I think you're lying to me. I want to know if you're a true color. Like, boom. Jessica, what is your thoughts? Is it nature? Is it nurture? Or is it just we have to beat each other?
I think it's a combination, as I was saying, and as far as overcoming adversity goes, if you think about the idea of being a mosaic, being taking a little bit from each person, when you think about a situation like twins who are raised in the same environment, you can't tell me that they're together literally 24/7 and they've never met a different person. So you can think about it in that way, how one of them may have met a person that completely changed, the course of, like, it's the butterfly effect, almost like the one little movement and it changes everything. And so I really do think it's a combination, though, because there's several examples like that when we talk about nature, when you would think that the outcome would be the same. But then, you can even look at the example. Have you guys ever seen the experiments that are done on plants, where they grow the plants, and then the one plant they talk bad to, they talk down to, and literally they feed it the same, they water it the same amount of sunshine, all of this stuff, and that one that's being talked to poorly starts to die.
Oh my God, are you serious?
Yes.
Oh,
like
yeah.
you can look up all these experiments with that. And the other one, they talk nice to it, they sing to it, they tell it it's beautiful, the whole, and it thrives. But the conditions it's fascinating. And so literally, like, imagine let's say you have twins that have spent every single day together, they do everything together, raised the same way. One of them goes to school and is in math class, and the other one's in science class. And in the math class, somebody says, "You suck at math, you're horrible at math." And the other one in the science class are going, "You're amazing at science, you're so great, this is perfect for you." Imagine how that then splits. And then one little thing in the mind can change everything. So it's really fascinating to think about. And so that's why all of these interviews that I've done over the last 3 years with the Breakthrough Show, there's never a firm answer of this is the one thing, because it's different for every single person.
That's amazing. When you were talking about the experiment too, I started to laugh for a second, just because I thought of them having these identical plants, and they look at the one like, "Oh, you're so amazing, I'm so proud." And they look at the other one and they go, "You're adopted." And then in my mind, you started talking about the twins, and I thought to myself, what if somebody tried to tell one twin that they were adopted? Identical twins, but they just tell the one that they're adopted. The other one, no, that one was the same parents and everything, but just for that, it just made me chuckle.
I want to Brett really quickly had said, twins when side by side experience the event from a slightly different angles, different perspectives. Okay, if you look at this moisturizer I have, we're all looking at the bottle, right? Yeah. You guys see the name of it and what it is. I'm back here looking at where it's from, their phone number, the ingredients, all of that. We're all looking at the same thing, completely different perspective. Correct. And if we can remember that as leaders, as friends, as parents is a big one. Yeah. As a big one, because we often want our children, we say, why don't you see it that way? We want our children to see things the way we see them. We want our children to they're going to have a different perspective than us, because they're coming from a different angle altogether. So, we can be better leaders, friends, parents, spouses, business partners, if we understand that every single person has a different perspective. And with everything that we're going on in this world, with all the adversity that every single one of us is going through, no one is more hard or better or anything than the other. It's the understanding that we all have a different perspective. We're all going to process it in very different ways. And we need to understand that there are different answers to how we get through it, depending on the person.
I think that play a big part in actually like raising kids and showing them how to see from different perspectives would be to question them. If you have a situation, ask them what they think about it, and then ask them why. I think why is the most powerful question that you could ask, especially a child, because it forces them to think and forces them to try to comprehend and evaluate a situation. And then if they tell you, and it's different from yours, don't tell them that their perspective is right or wrong
Right.
yet. Say what you're thinking and then explain yourself and let them sort of come to a conclusion on their own of which way they'd rather stick with. Unless they're
Right.
doing something like actually morally wrong, like they're trying to like harm people or something like that, or like small animals, then clearly step in. But if it's something like how to make a PB&J, do you put in the peanut butter first or the jelly first? And then just ask
Right.
them why. Things like that.
And we create adversity. But we create adversity sometimes because we want to pick at little things like that.
Yeah. I think if you play neutral, though, it's okay because you're not causing a huge conflict. If you just come and say, oh, why do you think that? Rather than adding a negative connotation, like, well, why do you think that? Adding that sort of negative energy to it. Just be like genuine and curious so they don't feel like they're being attacked or threatened.
Right. Brandon.
So, Jessica, you have kids. And
Yeah, I do. How many today do I have, Brandon?
Hold on. It's been 24 hours since we last talked, so you've had at least 2 kids, maybe 3. You're about 99 right now.
99. I got 99. Never mind.
I got 99 kids and none of them mine.
Yeah.
But like, my thing is, you're a mom, and with you and Phil, and hey, enjoy your day off today, Phil. But you guys are raising them, and sometimes as parents, and I'm not saying you do this, but we do think we want to teach them something and have them learn it, and it gets into, this is what I do, you should just trust me, I'm your parent, I'm your this, I'm your that. I think it's interesting because we made the joke about adoptions. You made the joke about adopting and stuff like that. And my one sister and I'm the oldest, and my youngest sister, Rebecca, love to pick on my middle sister, Veronica. We have convinced her she is adopted. She looks identical to all of us. But the worst part is my family saw how much it irritated her. And we all were like, okay, like, why are you taking this so personally when we make jokes? And then, like, as we got older, she really, like, it hurt her, and we found that out. But it's like, we didn't think we were actually making fun of her. Now, to this day, she's still on my phone, and as the adopted one, and she knows it because it's a good joke. But when you're raising your kids, sometimes do you not see that moment? And then how do you be in the moment to catch that? That was where I was going to go with that. And then I wanted to make a comment about the plants, because, you mentioned how the plants say 2 different things to do. Same exact stuff, good and bad talk to. Same thing, but they did it with water, just a cup of water. And the cup of water they talked bad to literally turned a shade of brown. It tested at different levels and everything. So words make a huge difference in who you are. And that's why
I don't know if I believe that one.
Give me a second. I'll find it.
Show me the car. Show me the Carfax.
First off, it's not a car. But all right, give me a second. All right, Jessica, go take into that. And Gavin, you're bringing our guest in today, just so you know. I'm going to be finding that answer.
So share.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, find me that answer.
Your question was about kids and how like they're. Can you repeat the question, because there was a lot in between there?
I'm sorry. But like, you are a parent, and when you're raising your kids, sometimes we think we have the best way of knowing what to tell our kids. And that's why Gavin's analogy that PB&J is very simple, but at the same point, there's a time where you're going to be raising your kid and you need to have a conversation about them. And his thing is why, but I'm sure they say things like, I can't do it and stuff like that. How do you keep in the moment from not getting upset or feeling like just taking over and doing it?
There's plenty of times I do get upset because I'm a human being. And I feel like I say this all the time, and I mean this in the nicest way. Having children is one giant experiment, because you literally, I mean, it's even like, I thought, okay, well, I'll have kids and they'll all be somewhat the same. So I'll be, no, every single one of them is so incredibly different. A lot of times, if I feel like, one of the things I've been doing, especially in the last couple of years, is if I feel like I'm being triggered by something that they're doing or not understanding their perspective or something like that, I will just let them be in it. As long, like Gavin was saying, as long as they're not hurting themselves, hurting someone else, whatever. Sometimes you just have to let them be in it, and it gives you time to shift your perspective, and it gives them time to, maybe if you're doing your job, halfway through what they're going through, they go, oh, and they have that shift in perspective too. And then we kind of just talk about it. I do ask them a lot, why do you feel that way? What is your perspective? When we've been talking about the last year and a half with everything going on in the world, there is not one topic that's come up in the news that I have kept from my children, not one. But we come at it from a very different perspective. I've mentioned before, we've been homeschooling since 2013. I will bring a subject to the table and then ask for all of their perspective. I will present, well, this person saying this and this person saying this. What do you think? How do you feel about it? And I'll say, like, what is something that you want to move? What's your opinion with this moving forward? How would you move forward? What do you want to do? So it's an interesting, I'm a work in progress on all of this. I am in practice with every single thing that I've talked about today. I don't think one person can breakthroughs and growing and moving forward is not about arriving at a specific place. Overcoming adversity is not about overcoming it and then you're done. You continue to grow and continue to make choices. And I want to repeat that quote from Kawan that says, it's not your fault, the things that have happened, but it is your responsibility to make a decision to continue that fight and finish it to achieve the victory that you want in your life. It's not your fault, but it's your responsibility to overcome that and move on if that is your path for your life.
I love that. I'm excited for your episode on Friday. I definitely will be watching.
And Cootie Mac is going to be on that episode too. Cootie is amazing, and he's going to be juicing on the show. So we're going to be making some juice, and it's amazing.
Oh, I think it was steroids.
So did I.
Juicing,
yeah, that's
making
like steroids.
No.
Yes.
See, and that's so, talk about perspective. Like, I'm not in that world. Yeah. I'm in the world of holistic wellness. And so I'm talking about juice and vegetables, people. Y'all calm down. Time
out. Gavin, I'm with you on this one because I knew Joe was too, because he's at the gym. He's doing his cardio. Gavin, will you tell us about our guest today and why you and I both thought she went juicing? Yeah,
I will. That went straight to my mind.
Y'all need to find some different people to hang with. I'm just trying to say.
So today's guest that we have today, I believe the only path to improvements is making a commitment to change. Most of my adult life I struggled. I was a busy executive, long hours, lots of travel. I couldn't seem to find the time to eat healthy or exercise regularly. Then it happened. The moment. My realization that something had to change or I was going to die. One simple flight of stairs, I was winded. My back hurt, my knees hurt. I was done living that way. Fortunately for me, my wife Gabriella had the same epiphany.
I like it. No, that was perfect. You hit it close enough that you got it. Like, good job, buddy.
My wife Gabriella had the same epiphany. I've never seen that word written out. Strange. At the same time, and we committed to making change. Today, we're both certified personal trainers. Are you ready to take back your health and fitness? I can help.
See, that's why we both thought that, Jessica. We like you said it, and I'm like, we're talking about fitness. Joe just mentioned cardio, and then Jessica's over here. Yeah, guys, we're gonna be juicing on Friday, and I'm sitting here going, "Oh, it's gonna be fun."
But you got it. Okay, so perspective. What is my show about? Do you honestly think? I mean, come on.
Not at all. I just knew where Gavin was coming from, and that's why I was like, "Oh, this is gonna be fun." I lean into the joke. I'm sorry, Jessica. Do us a favor. Tell everybody where to find your show. We're going to share the link again and how to follow you so that way they can hear it. And then thank you for being on. Truly a wonderful conversation today.
So you can go to the Breakthrough Show Network on Facebook or the Breakthrough Show on YouTube. Those are the easiest way. Also, highly recommend that you join my text community right now. And I have a special word set up just for people that are followers of Java Delight. So you text the word delight to the number 256-685-7092 256-685-7092. Text the word delight to that, and then I will know that you came from here. And you get notifications and all that. You can choose which notifications you want, but I'm really enjoying my text community.
I love
Is
it.
that what's going off right now? All the text messages?
No, it's a reminder for me from my trainer to eat breakfast.
Oh, well, you go enjoy breakfast. Thank you so much for being on today. It's always a pleasure. We will see you next time.
Thank
Take
you,
care,
guys.
Jess.
Bye.
All right, everybody. And now, the moment we've all been waiting for. Our personal trainer, Don Coates. How you doing, Don?
Hey guys,
Did I say your last name correctly?
it's actually Cote. It was originally it was originally Cote from Montreal, Canada, but American people can't say Cote, so they say Cote. And
I like
we've
Cote.
just kinda-
It's fancy.
yeah, we stopped arguing years ago, but either way is fine.
Okay, interesting. Because I was reading it a couple times, and in my mind, I also kind of want to say Coup. Don Coup. But I was like, I'll go with Cote.
I'll take Don Cool.
Don Cool?
That's how I read it. But
Don Cool, all right. Don Cool, PhD, here to tell us how to work out.
So what is your PhD in, Mr. Dr. I see now I'm going to be saying the wrong last name. I said, Dad.
You know the cosmetic
Cote.
company. You know the cosmetic company Cote.
Yeah.
Just remember that it actually came into the country as COTE, but then there were a bunch of different spellings, and that's one of the ways it got spelled. But Cote, just like the makeup company, that's how easy for people to remember it.
I got it now. So what is your PhD in, Dr. Cote?
Behavioral science, and Don's fine, by the way, Brad.
You have the letters after your name. I wanted to make sure we were professional. So
I appreciate that. It's just habit now. I didn't actually get my PhD until I was 58. I planned on getting it by 56, but it took a couple extra years. But adversity came into my path, but I overcame it.
That's amazing. That's awesome.
Yeah, I was listening to the show earlier, and I'm a little disappointed. I'm loving being with you guys, but Jessica is quite the handful. She is an intellectual extraordinaire.
Oh yeah, that's why she's one of our regulars, man.
Yeah.
Every week we have her. Yep.
I love her, man. That's the first time I've ever heard her, and she just knocked it out of the park. She has an authoritative voice, which is really amazing.
Yes,
but
she does.
She came in today with that like guff. I even made a comment about it because she's
Guns
not
blazing.
normal.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, but like we planned this topic out, and it's a very heavy week because we're trying to make our shows match with hers and adversity. And when you're talking about behavioral science, oh Don, thank you. That's Jessica right here thanking you. He's Dr. Don.
I'll go with that.
There you go.
Actually, a bunch of my really close friends just.
Uh-oh.
Oh, did he freeze?
Here.
He says he's here, but
I don't see him. I see him. I don't hear him. Dr. Don, can you hear us?
Back. Yeah.
Not yet. Closer.
Not yet.
Closer.
there we go.
Warmer.
Warmer. Red hot. You're hot. There we go.
There we go.
For you.
I'm sorry. Say that again.
I said there's some adversity for you.
Yep.
Perfect example of it.
I love the way the universe just lines up and just gives us these bonus things. It's just really great. And in addition to that, you had asked what my PhD is in. Technically, it's in behavioral science and behavior modification. But the real backstory is when I decided to apply, I was talking to my my counselor and the person that helps you kind of figure out what you want your degree to be in. And he said, so what do you want your PhD to be in? And I said, psychology. And he started laughing. He said, apparently you don't understand what higher education is all about. It's about learning more and more about less and less. he said, so we got to take a really tiny little slice of the world of psychology, and you have to learn everything about it and become the expert in that. That's why you deserve to have a doctorate. And so I said, well, that makes it really easy. I need to understand resilience. I need to understand what helps people that get up every time they're knocked down. What helps them continue to get up where other people, after they get knocked down once or twice, just don't get up. And I always think of the movie Rudy, right? Every time they knocked him down, he just popped back up again. And one of the guys just said, if you saw the movie, one of the guys just said, stay down. And he said, if I stay down, you don't get any better.
Yeah.
I was like, okay. Well, for me, that's actually what it was. If I don't get back up, I don't get any better. And so that's what happened. I grew up in a really poor family. My dad never made more than $7,000 a year in his life. He ran away from the orphanage at 14. His parents got divorced, and he was born in 33. So back in those days, that really was kind of uncommon, but they had a big family. That was common. They had 8 kids, and the boys, 4 girls, 4 boys. The boys were put in an orphanage. The girls went to live with the mom. But he said, hell no, I won't go. And he ran away. 5th floor of the orphanage. He shimmied down the pole from the back porches and ran away. So he lived on the street from the time he was 14 until he was 21 when he bought his first house. Now, he died a long time ago, but nobody actually knows the story. He refused to my mom didn't even know. And we don't know what happened, but he got street smarts is what I call it. And I was the firstborn, 3 kids, just like you, Brandon, 2 younger sisters. But here I am, under Dad's feet. I love my dad. I want to hang around with him, but he's doing home repairs. Bought this tiny little 800 square foot home, crappy house, crappy neighborhood. And he just started fixing it up. He bought it for $2,400 in 1957. And about 6 years later, he sold it for $6,000. So just add a few zeros to kind of get a perspective on that.
Yeah.
Guy that didn't finish 7th grade. And he had a dream. His dream, it was audacious for somebody with his background, but he had a dream that he wanted a home on a lake. And so everything he did kind of pushed him in that direction. So he sold that home, moved us into another crappy home in a little better neighborhood. And about 7 years old, I was so bothersome that he would send me for tools, get me the hammer, get me the nail, so he could get something done. And eventually, by the time I was just going into high school, I had learned everything you could learn about rehabbing houses: plumbing, electrical, heating, roofing, siding, anything you could do to a house. He had done it. But I remember so many times asking him the question, Dad, how did you learn how to do this? And he'd say, I didn't. We're figuring it out right now. So here's this really young, impressionable little boy whose only example is his dad. And his dad has this really uncommon level of self-confidence where nothing stopped him, no matter what. He just would keep going. Oftentimes it was, shit, that didn't work. Let's try something else. Yeah. And so I just kind of grew up thinking, not even thinking, just unconsciously knowing that's how life works. And eventually I started a company called LifeWorks University. But my dad was the one that showed me how life works.
Gavin, you're going to have to ask a question because my mind was just blown. Like, I'm used to being the first one to ask questions, but like,
no, you're good. I'm so fixated on the part that from 14 to 21, nobody really knows what he did. Nobody knows what happened. He just ended up buying a house. He had saved money to buy a house.
Here's another crazy twist. At the age of 39, he became totally disabled, and by 52, he was dead. But when he bought his 5th house, which was the home on the lake, we were a family of 5, and 2 younger sisters, mom, dad, me, and Dad bought this house, 2-bedroom, 1-bathroom cottage. So not really adequate for a family of 5, but he had big plans. He knew what he was going to do. He had this vision for it. And then immediately he became sick, and his body completely gave out. Like, he was completely incapacitated. His mind, he would always say to me, my mind is locked inside this body that doesn't work. And so I did all the work to the house. And 2-bedroom, 1-bath cottage is now a 5-bedroom, 3-bathroom, full apartment in the basement, in-law apartment, 2nd floor on the house now, 2-car garage. He paid $14,900 for it, and I don't know, I forget, $69,000, I think it was. And today it's worth $650,000. My mom still lives there.
Wow, it's amazing inflation, how things increase in value. But what I'm curious about now is, so you grew up understanding very clearly this mentality that sometimes things don't work in life. Sometimes you're going to fall, sometimes you're going to fail, and that's okay, and you just get back up. How did that affect your relationship with your peers? Because most children don't have that sort of mentality. Most people are not able to understand that it's okay to mess up, it's okay to fail, it's not okay to give up. How did that affect your relationships with people of your age growing up?
Gavin, that's incredibly insightful. I got to be honest with you. Nobody's ever asked me that question before, but I have a really good answer. I know you're surprised.
Yeah.
So I was a bit of an outcast. I had a couple of friends, but they were the quirky kids that nobody else wanted to hang around with, kind of thing.
Yeah.
I did things. I always kind of carved my own path. There was a bus stop almost right outside my house, but there was another one about a quarter of a mile to a half a mile away. The kids at the bus stop near my house were smokers, and the kids at the next bus stop were not. I walked through the crowd that was smoking up the hill to the other bus stop every day for 4 years. I went to high school.
Wow.
Just because, and I refused to do drugs. I just wasn't willing to let peer pressure. And I got teased a lot. I held the record I had a small high school. I had a graduating class of 61. But I held the record in my senior high school, 700 kids, for the most fights in my 10th grade.
Really?
Yeah. I'm only 5'6", so it's I'm not exactly intimidating. And I remember fighting guys a lot bigger than me, because when they would pick on me, I would fight back. So the whole thing about, the bullying thing today, my reaction back to Jessica, my perspective was very, very different than everybody else. I wasn't willing to back down or cry about it. I was willing to stand and fight about it. And I lost every single fight. I didn't win one. But it didn't matter, because, there were 100 kids that went up the dirt road behind the school to watch the fight after school. And half of them came down with me because they were just like, who is this kid? Right? I
mean, that has to earn you some respect at a certain point. The fact that you kept getting your ass kicked, but you still never gave up. I mean, there's something inspiring that everybody. That's why the underdog story is so relevant all throughout history, and why it's so touching to us, because we all see ourselves as the underdog, wanting to overcome this seemingly impossible task, whatever it may be.
Mm-hmm. So. Yeah. Doc,
Don's good. Brandon,
I know.
Don's good. Just Don.
But I'm used to my mom drilling it into me, even when I'm 38 years old. If I call somebody like Mr. or Mrs. still, they're like, you could call me Don and all that. And my mom is like, no, you still call them that. It's ingrained.
We're not in the office right now. We're at the cafe. We're at the bar getting a drink. All right. We're just hanging out with Don.
Hey, Don! Don, how you doing? You mentioned LifeWorks University. Is that did I say that correctly?
Yeah.
Do you have a website for that? Because I want to be able to pull that up, and I was so fascinated by what you were saying. And then, what is LifeWorks University? Because I'd love to be able to know more about that and how you were building up your life.
The story is the backstory is much more interesting. The website doesn't exist anymore. I took it down, and I'll explain why. But my dad naturally said, "Son, pay attention. I'm showing you how to put a roof over your family's head. Eventually, you're going to have a family." And he said, "You've got to be in real estate." In his lifetime, real estate had only gone up. It had never changed directions. And so he was like, "You've got to be in real estate." So when I turned 18. I was living in Massachusetts. They were just about to change the real estate licensing laws. They had one license, and now they were going to have two. So if you waited to get your real estate license, you'd have to take the test to be a salesperson, and 3 years later, you'd have to become a broker. But if you took it now, you could actually be a broker right away, open your own store, you open your own shop. So 18 years old, senior in high school, I go get my real estate license. I never made a nickel with it, not a penny, nothing. However, because I was in the mindset of real estate, I couldn't escape it. I grew up inside that mindset. I had a epiphany, Gavin. I realized I needed to not be selling it. I needed to be buying it. And so I started buying real estate. I bought my first house in 1980. And it was a bedroom, 1 bath. I'd already been down this path before. So I turned it into a 5-bedroom, 2 bath. I bought it for 49, sold it for 117. And I was like a fish on a hook. I made more money that year with that one house than I did in my job. And so long story short, but I started buying multifamilies. And in my 20s, in the 80s, I made a boatload of money. And my dad taught me how to use my hands, so I know how to fix everything. But then I couldn't actually fix everything because I had too many properties. So I had people doing it for me. But I learned how to make money in the 80s. I learned how to lose it in the 90s. In 89, 90, 91, we had a real estate crash, which I wasn't prepared for. And about 80% of my friends who were all in real estate at the time, they weren't prepared for it. We all went bankrupt. The other 20% became about 4 times richer. They bought all of our properties at auction. So they knew something that we didn't know. And so but I lost everything. I lost all my real estate. I filed bankruptcy. I had 2 kids and a wife at the time, and money problems will exacerbate a bad marriage. And we weren't doing well to begin with because we just got married really young. And I ended up with 2 beautiful, amazing kids from the marriage. The marriage itself didn't work out, but the kids are great. So I ended up losing everything and getting divorced and ended up homeless. And so I didn't live on the street, but I slept in the back seat of my BMW in the middle of the night, in the middle of the winter, in the middle of New England. You have conversations with yourself that you otherwise would never have. Like why me? You know, I'm a hardworking guy. I'm honest. I had lots of opportunities to do shady deals in real estate. I never did any of them, and other people made a lot more money than me doing them. So I kind of was jealous a little bit of those people. But then when everything crashed, everybody lost everything. And but I ended up living in my BMW for a while. And at one point, I realized this pity party that I was having with myself really wasn't getting me. And that was another epiphany. I've had many of those along the way. And I realized that I needed to stop feeling sorry for myself and pull up my big boy panties. And went to my dad, who was on his deathbed, literally, and you know, would complain about it's not fair. I've lost everything. And he said, it was never yours in the first place. I mean, you come into this world, forgive me, this is his exact words. You come into this world bare ass and naked, and you're going out the same way, and everything in the middle is just gravy. You need to shut up and go back to work. That was his advice, right? Yeah. From the guy that just, you know, never let anything keep him down. And so I went to a guy who had became an informal mentor of mine about 10 years earlier, mid 80s. Now it was almost mid 90s. Hadn't seen him in a long time. Very nice guy, very laid back, but he would just kind of put his arm around, I'm a bit older than me, put his arm around me and say, no, not that property, this one over here. And that was it. He just kind of guided me. And no, don't do that, do this, right? And so, but I hadn't seen him in a long time. So I got up the guts and picked up the phone and called him and invited him for a cup of coffee. And graciously, he said yes after all that time. So I actually had spent so much time with him, I knew how he took his coffee. So I'm here at Dunkin' Donuts. We're in Massachusetts. I've got his coffee sitting on the table, and I am nervous. He doesn't know. He apparently did know, but I didn't think he knew how broke I was, and you know, I was homeless and stuff. But anyway, he came in. And he sat down, and we just did this stare at each other, just pregnant pause, didn't say anything. And I said, I've lost everything. Just kind of blurted that out. He said, yeah, I know. You and 80% of our friends. He said, so, you know, how can I help you? And I said, well, I just need some direction. The game has changed. The rules have changed. I don't know how to get back into the game. The secret door to the club is, you know, I can't find it. And, you know, and trying to be funny. And he was just completely straight-faced, not mean or anything, but just completely straight-faced. like, did I teach you nothing? Right. And so he just kind of said to me, have you ever read the book Think and Grow Rich? And have you guys ever heard of that book?
I have heard of it. I've yet to read it.
Napoleon Hill.
Yeah. So this was 95. In 79, I had gotten into Amway. And someone gave me put me on Book of the Month, Tape of the Week Club. And so I had read, that was the first book I ever read. And so he said, have you ever read it? I said, sure. And he said, really? Kind of surprised. He said, how many times? I said, well, like once. How many times do you have to read a book? He said, apparently more than once, because everything you need to know is in that book and you missed it. He said, I really think you should read it again. Thanks for the coffee. I've got to go. So it was a really short, very painful meeting for me. And I remembered, and just before he got to the door, you guys are kind of young. You probably won't remember this. There was a show on TV called Columbo, Peter Falk. And right at the end, it was a half-hour show, and he was a detective. And so he always wore this kind of wrinkled old raincoat. And right at the end of the show, what he would do is he'd be talking to the guilty party, and he'd say, oh, okay. And he'd go to reach for the door handle, and he'd turn around and he'd say, so why did you kill him? And then the person would confess, and we used to call that entertainment. And today it'd be kind of, laughable. But he did that to me. He kind of turned around. He said, hey, listen, if you don't get it this time, I just keep reading it till you do. I never saw him again. He just walked out the door. I never saw him again. But I remember sitting there kind of in a daze, and I don't know how long, but I was just kind of looking out the window into the abyss, because the only person I knew who was rich still, after a real estate guy who was rich, was him. He's the only person I knew that I could call, and my ace just walked out the door. And I really didn't know what I was going to do. Like, there was nothing. There was no road. The path had just stopped right there at that table. And eventually I remember getting up from the table and kind of in a daze, kind of walking to my car. And about halfway home, I had this epiphany again. I was like, wait a minute, he's rich, I'm poor. That's probably a clue. I probably should get my hands on this book. So I turned the car, went to Barnes and Noble, and I got the book. And by this time I had borrowed a friend's car to come to this meeting, because I had given my BMW back to the bank, and because I couldn't make the payments anymore. And I had gone to live with my baby sister, 15 years younger. She had her first child at 13 and her second child at 15. And the guy that got her pregnant at 13 was 21. And he was 6'3", and I'm 5'6", and I had him in the street ready to kill him in front of my mother's house because of how he destroyed her life. And my mother came out and said, you'll leave him alone. He's an asshole, but you'll leave him alone because he's the father. He's going to be the father of this child. He went into the military, went into the Marines, got himself straightened out, came out, he bought a house, crappy house. And in 4 days, me and a bunch of our friends completely rehabbed the house. And it was about a week before Thanksgiving. We had Thanksgiving dinner in the house. So, all's well that ends well. So he turned out to be a really good guy in the end. And they had kids, they had both kids together, and the kids grew up, and everybody went on to be successful. But I was sleeping. I went to my baby sister's house and asked if I could sleep on her couch. So here's this big deal, smarty pants, used to be rich big brother knocking on her door, asking to sleep on her couch. It was the most excruciatingly painful day of my life up to that point. And she said, no, you won't have any privacy there. Two little boys and a husband in a 2-bedroom little flat. And she said, I'm going to fix up the half room for you, which is code for the pantry. And so put a little cot and a folding chair and a Parsons table, and literally no closet in there. So I strung a piece of wire and hung my 3 articles of clothing. I literally had nothing. Yeah. And so I had this Think and Grow Rich. I had this paperback copy. I went back to the house, put on a pot of coffee, and read the whole book. And I got to the end, and I went, crap, I must have missed it. So I started at the beginning again. I read it all the way through, and I'm like, missed it again. And I read it all. I don't know how many times I read it, but I just kept reading because that's what he told me to do. And I didn't know, there was no other choices on the table. So I just kept reading. And at one point I remember waking up, and I was sleeping, waking up, and I grabbed my journal, which was one of the only things I had. And I wrote 2 pages through my tears of what turned out to be an essay, I guess, say. But forgive me if this sounds a little weird. The truth is the truth. But it was channeling, and it wasn't me writing, and I didn't even know what I had written until I had cleared my eyes. But that made a shift for me, and I realized that anything I wanted, I could have at that moment. And there were 3 simple steps. The first thing I needed to do is get a picture in my mind of what I wanted, no matter what it was. Just get what I called a vision in my mind. And then I needed to put together a plan. So one of my favorite things in the world is castles. I just love castles. And I thought, well, if I want to live in a castle, I've got to get a picture. Every castle is unique and every castle is magnificent, just like people. And so I had to get a picture of the castle in my mind. And then I had to put that down on paper, which you would call a blueprint. And then I would have to execute on the blueprint, and I would have a castle. There's just no choice, right? Yeah. And so no matter what you want, whether it's better health, whether it's better relationships, whether it's wealth, whether it's travel, it doesn't matter. Mm-hmm. Always those 3 steps. And so I went to the store, like a office supply store, to look for some kind of planner that had these 3 steps in it, and the principles found in Think and Grow Rich. I'm like, there's got to be a planner, because the principles had triggered me into this 3-step process that I was thinking about. I didn't invent it; I just discovered it. I mean, it's just what is, right? You want a birdhouse? What color? What size? Right? Yeah. Hole. And then you put together a blueprint, and maybe the blueprint is in your mind, and then you make it, no matter what it is. So I looked for a planner, Daytimer, Day Runner, Franklin Covey. Actually, Franklin was just Franklin. It wasn't Franklin Covey yet. And I couldn't find anything. So I went to a friend of mine. I didn't know how to turn on a computer at that point. It was 95. And I said, hey, can you make some pages for me? And I can 3-hole punch them and put them in a book. So she did. And about 3 weeks later, I was having coffee with 3 of my friends. They were 3 women, happened to be 3 women. And the thing about losing everything is there's a real big benefit in it. You actually know who your friends are, because they're the only people who are left. The entourage is gone, right? Yeah. And so I'm sitting with my 3 real friends, and there were 3 women. So they're kind of whispering and giggling. And I'm like, what is going on? And they're like, what drugs are you doing? And I'm like, what? They're like, hey, listen, you live in a closet. I had gone across the street to the pizza parlor and asked for a job. And then the guy said to me, Don, I pay my people $10 an hour. You're never going to make enough to make your child support. And he said, why don't you be a driver for me? My drivers make like $35 an hour. Remember, 95, that was a lot of money back then. Yeah. And I had to fess up and say I didn't have a car. And he said, I'll loan you my company van. It takes more oil than gas, but if you're willing to fill it up, you can use it until you get yourself on your feet. You seem like a good guy. So they said, you're living in a closet, you're delivering pizza with somebody else's vehicle, you have no money, you have no clothes, you don't have any friends except us. Like, why are you so happy? And I said, oh, okay, so that's easy. And I had a newsboy bag that I reached in, and I pulled out a yellow lined piece of paper, which was the draft for these forms that I eventually became a planner, what I call the life planner. And I said, this is what I'm doing. If I do this and I do this, I get this. They're like, wait, what? If I do this and I get the vision, I create a blueprint and I take action, I get whatever I want. And I said, so it's really just a matter of time. No matter what I want, I can have it. And I had a 5-year plan in my mind where I was going to get back everything that I had lost and more. And they were like, well, will you show us how to do that? And so I said, sure. So I took the weekend off. The following weekend, I went to one of their apartments. We had a snowstorm at 4.5 feet of snow. We got snowed in, me and 3 women, stuck in an apartment for a weekend. They were my friends. All the girls slept in the king size bed. I slept on the couch. I swear it's true. I was single at the time, so it wouldn't have mattered. But anyway, I showed them my system. About 3 weeks later, they're like, hey, our friends are asking us the same question. Like, how are we, and about 3 weeks later, we had rented a bed and breakfast on Marblehead Neck in Massachusetts. So it's this island that's connected with this little causeway, and it's ethereal. And there's a place, it's still there. It's called the Seagull Inn. You can see the ocean from every window. We rented the entire place, had 17 people. By this time, I had put 3-ring binders together for everybody. And that was the first time I ever taught I didn't have a name for it back then. I taught the LifeWorks Life Mastery System. And I did that as kind of like a pickup hockey team. So anytime one of the people that graduated would call and say, hey, I've got 5 people, I've got 12 people. And then eventually, and so now I have all my real estate back, and I'm traveling around the country, buying real estate all around the country. People are calling me saying, hey, I'm in Nashville. I got 12 people that want to do it. I fly in, I teach it for 3 days, I fly out, and I only charge the cost of whatever it cost me. It wasn't a business.
Yeah.
And then about 8 years ago, one of my coaching clients, because people started asking me to teach them how to do that, right? So now I'm a coach. I'm just coaching what I do. And one of my coaching clients said, hey, I want to introduce you to somebody. This guy's dad was Napoleon Hill's mentor. I said, come on. She said, no, really? And so I said, okay, sure. I'd love to meet him. So I fly over to San Diego. I'm living in Vegas at the time. I fly over to San Diego and I get to meet this guy. As it turns out, this guy named Bernie Dorman, just passed away just recently, became a personal mentor of mine. Bernie had created an over 100,000 CEOs. And so that's my network now, right? I know CEOs of companies all over the world, every size, shape, and color you can imagine. And so, but he said to me when I met him, he said, so I understand you've got this system that's based on Think and Grow Rich. And I said, yes, sir, that's true. He said, my dad was Napoleon Hill's mentor, right? And Walt Disney and Buckminster Fuller and Edwards Deming and people like that. I'm like, yeah, I heard. And he said, so tell me a little bit about this system. And I told him the 3 steps. And he said, Don, if that's true, what you have, everybody in the world needs to know that. And he said, and I can help you. And he said, my organization helps people to be able to launch great ideas like this. Bob Proctor is one of our teachers. Les Brown is one of our teachers, and people like that. And so we can help you. So I became a lifetime member of that organization. And the first thing he asked me is, he said, do you have a book? At this point, I had been teaching it for quite a while. And I said, you might as well be speaking Martian. I would have no idea how to write a book. He said, you got to write a book. So he introduced me to Greg Reed. I don't know if you know who Greg Reed is. So there's something called the Napoleon Hill Foundation, which is in charge of all the archives for Napoleon Hill. And there's 2 people that are authorized to speak on behalf and write on behalf of Napoleon Hill: Sharon Lechter, who helped co-author Rich Dad, Poor Dad, yep, and Greg Reed, who's written several books, but he wrote a book called The 3 Feet from Gold with Sharon, which is based on a story from the book, you probably remember. And then he wrote another book called Stickability, which is a word that Napoleon Hill coined. It's in the book. And so I sat down, had dinner with Greg Reed. By the end of and Greg never told me how to write a book, but he was a publisher. He had a publishing company. And so I showed him my system, and he took out a napkin and he wrote an endorsement of the system. And he's authorized on behalf of Napoleon Hill Foundation. He gave me an endorsement. And he said, the only thing I don't like about it is the name. It was called Life Works by Design, which is what it was. And he said, sounds kind of 90s. And this was like 2012 or whatever this was. And I said, well, yeah, the name was created in the 90s. He said, that's the only thing I'd change. I went back to Bernie, and Bernie said, you need a school. And you need an online school, and it needs to be a university level kind of school. And you need to teach this, and you need to record it so people can consume it all over the world. Because if you like to sleep and people are awake in Japan, you can't do it live. And so we ended up creating a international student body. Over 2,000 people have gone through that class. But I took it back in September, actually on September 11th. I decided that I was going to close it down. I had said to all of the students, I said, I've given you the system. Nobody can take that away from you. I've helped you to form mastermind groups, which is a huge part of what you guys know the book, right? It's a huge part of what he taught. In the introduction to the book, he said the secret comes in 2 parts. The first part you have to bring, and the second part you'll discover as you read through the book. Well, as it turns out, what you have to bring is your vision, and what the second part is your mastermind. Mm-hmm. And so I put people into mastermind group. I help people form mastermind groups, and I said, you've got your mastermind groups. You've got a global network of friends now that you know. The only difference is you're just not going to have to pay tuition anymore. And I had a couple people that were really mad at me because I felt like I was abandoning them, as you'd well imagine. But I said, listen, I don't, Tony Robbins, I don't want to be your guru. Tony says that all the time, but he does. I was actually the vice president of the New England franchise for Tony Robbins. And Tony's the best mass hypnotist I have ever met. I'm in the Boston Garden, 17,000 people. Tony's running around the stage, and on the scoreboard, he says, repeat after me. On the scoreboard, it says, I am not a follower, I am a leader. 17,000 people chanting, I am not a follower, I am a leader. I had to leave the building. Just think of the irony in that.
Yeah.
They're all following him saying, I'm not a follower. Right. Yeah. And I love Tony. Tony's made a huge difference in my life, and he's made a huge difference for a lot of people. But I really and truly didn't want to be anybody's guru. I wanted to give them the system, and there was a lot of dependence. They expected me to kind of always.
You want to teach them how to fish and not give them the fish.
Exactly. Biblically said, Gavin. Absolutely. Yeah. And so I said, I've got to redesign it so that I can actually, so it can truly reach Bernie's dream of being consumable without Dawn, whether I get hit by a bus or whatever. Yeah. So I put it in mothballs, and I said, I need to do something in the meantime until I'm waiting for the channeling to come. Right. And so I said, I got to do something. The first 30 years of my life, the other thing that I didn't tell you is that somebody wanted me to be a speaker for them. And so they hired me because I learned everything about tax lien investing. So one of my specialties in the real estate investing world was tax lien investing. And so I got hired by this company, and for 5 years, I spent 45 weekends a year traveling all over North America teaching about that. And then somebody from Trump University, it wasn't created yet. Somebody said, hey, we want to hire you. You'll be the first speaker for Trump University. So I became the first speaker for Trump University, and I did that for 2 years. But I kept going back to the same city. So I'm in New York City in Times Square, and it's like April. And every 3 months I was back in that city because I just traveled around all the big cities in the country. And this lady comes up to me and she goes, I'm setting up my camera and stuff. And she goes, you don't remember me, do you? And I said, it's not polite to say to a lady, you have a familiar face or anything like that. Besides, the guy behind you is twice my size. It's probably your husband. and she said, it is my husband. I was here 3 months ago when you were here, and I bought that coaching program for $30,000. And she said it was horrible. There were just kids with scripts, and nobody had ever bought any real estate or anything like that. I was mortified. And I said, I'm so sorry. What can I? She said, no, don't misunderstand. The sign up there says Donald Trump, not Donald Cote. And she said, I'm back here for you because what I learned from you actually worked. And that's why my husband's here, because he told me not to come the first time. He was a naysayer. But he's seen what I've done with just the information that you gave me. And so I'm back because you told me I could come back. I tell them all you can come back anytime you want for free. And so and that kept happening. And so I kept calling the company. Nobody gets to talk to the Donald, but or then. And so I kept calling and saying, this can't happen. My reputation is on the line. And they basically, here's what they said. We pay you a lot of money. Shut up and just keep doing what you do. And I said, I don't need to do this. I spend I cash the checks, I spend the money, but I actually do what I teach people to do, and I really don't need to do this. And here's the thing: I'm scheduled for LA, Dallas, and Miami in the next 3 weeks. You need to find somebody else. I'm all done. And at that point, I was making about $350,000 a year doing these speaking gigs, and I just was like, I can't do it. My conscience won't let me. And so I'm trying to figure out how that led into that story, the backstory. No. And then someone wanted to hire me to be, I have no banking background, but somebody wanted me to help them run their bank. And so in 2006, I opened 56 branches in 42 states. I hired and trained 280 mortgage officers. Guys, I was a C student in high school. That was on a good day, and there weren't a lot of good days.
I love that. That was actually going to be, well, I had one where, was that your moment? Like you were in the car and all that, like, cause being in the car, being homeless, being in the cold, having to go knock on your sister's door, very, very big things. But then you turn around and look where you went. Did you ever at one point just want to be done with it all and to keep going like that.
That was the moment. So the book that I wrote, the first book, Bernie said, you got to write a book. So I meet with Greg and on a Thursday night, I go to bed that night at the hotel with my clothes on. I just fall asleep. I'm exhausted from that conversation. It was emotionally draining. I wake up in the morning and the table of contents for the book is in my head. And so I get up and I jump on my computer and I write the table of contents. And then over the next 4 weeks, I just filled in between the titles. I just wrote and then we published it. And it was called LifeWorks, How I've Lost Everything and Found My Life's Purpose. And I'm one of the blessed ones, honestly. So many people never find their life's purpose. And I believe the only way that a person can, and I hesitate to say it this way because Jessica has an opinion and I respect her opinion, never say this is the only way, right? I get that, totally get that. But for me, in the thousands of people that I've coached personally, my personal experience is that the only way to truly feel fulfilled in your life is to find your purpose and live your purpose. And my purpose is helping people to reach their goals and make their dreams come true. I call it living the life of your dreams. So many people, most of the people go to their grave and they have so many unlived dreams. And it's unnecessary. Anybody can reach any goal, dream, or desire that they want with those 3 steps. And so just recently, a friend of mine who was one of the first graduates of LifeWorks back 30 years ago, he came to me and he said, he invited me for a cup of coffee. And he said, he lives here with me in Vegas. And so he said, come on, meet with me for a cup of coffee. I did. And can I cuss on your show?
Yes, you get 1 F word and then the rest are free.
No F words. He said, you're a selfish bastard. I said, okay, all right, I accept your opinion, but tell me why. He said, Don, there are still millions of people in the world that need to know the LifeWorks system. And you got it in mothballs, dude. It's time to take it out. I said, well, so what's the universe telling you? What's the model? How do we do this? And he said, well, it just so happens. And then we had a whiteboarding session. And so we are just about to re-release under a different brand. Surprisingly, part of the channeling was that the name needs to change completely. So it won't be called LifeWorks anymore. Now, mind you, in 2020, I had 10 students that wanted to co-author a book with me. So we released a book called LifeWorks 2020. It's on Amazon. And it became an overnight bestseller, international bestseller. Yeah, we have a huge following, and it became. And I'm really humbled. But they did such a great job. Each of them kept a journal while I coached them for about 9 months, daily journal, and then they took that daily journal. I believe personal growth, self-improvement, happens so slowly. It's like watching grass grow or the paint dry. And so unless you're keeping a daily journal and you can go back and connect the dots over a period of time, you can't really tell the growth that you've had. But so you're just growing tiny little bit each day. And so they did that. That was how I wrote my second book back in 2014. I had a group of 12 people that I said, hey, let's do a project. Let's just write a book together. And they said, okay. And we did the same thing. They kept a journal. They went back and read it. And I said, listen, at the end of 12 months, you'll have enough fodder to be able to write a chapter. It turns out they had enough to write a book each. And so I said, the challenge is going to be to pull out the nuggets. And they each talked about what their gains were, what the adversities were, and how they pushed through them. And so this other book in 2020, we mimicked the same thing. So I've got several books out there. I've been a co-author in many books myself, but it's just even say it to you kind of feels a little weird because I'm like, remember I said, I wasn't a really great student. The reason why I decided to get my PhD I decided at age 55. I thought it was going to take me like 3 to 4 years. It took me 7. Wasn't because anybody was going to pay me any more money. It was because I needed to blow through that myth that I had in my mind that I was a C student. And I ended up, so the school I went to, they said, you can write a thesis if you want, but we'd rather help you write a book. And so that was one of my books that I actually wrote as my thesis. And it's a repurposing, right? I'm a repurposing granola head, tree hugging son of a gun. So I like to do that. So I'm just all over the place, guys. I hope.
No, it's fantastic. I'm curious now. Yeah, no, you've had this insane journey of ups and downs, and every single time that you get knocked down, you do that, Rudy. You just get right back up. You keep going in. What I'm starting to wonder now is when did the fitness start taking place in all this? Because the things that you're doing, there are things that most people wouldn't even dream about trying to do because they're so worried about focusing on themselves. They haven't quite yet made themselves where they want to be, whether mentally or physically. Because of how your dad raised you, you had that mental advantage of being able to take on adversity and take on failure and take on when you fall down. You had that mentality already locked in at a young age. So now, when did the physical aspect come into? Did you kind of put that on the back burner while you were making all this money, then losing it, then making it again? Or did something click when you were getting your ass kicked as a young kid, saying, you know what, I need to start going to the gym and bulking up a bit and taking care of myself physically because it's a rough world out there and there are bigger and badder dogs than me?
That would be a great story, but that wasn't it. So I had 2 practice marriages, and I got all the mistakes out of the way. While I was traveling for 7 years, I stayed single on purpose because I knew that I hadn't figured out quite how to have a great relationship yet. And I was trying to figure out this whole compatibility thing. And so finally, when I left Trump University, I settled down in Vegas. Weather's great here, plenty of places to take dates, right? So, I thought, well, okay, this is a great place to do that. So I get online. And I'm a little rusty because it's been 7 years, actually a little bit more than that. But I get on Plenty of Fish, and I by this time I had spent a lot of time in airports waiting for planes by myself, hotel rooms by myself, crisscrossing the country, red eyes by myself, asking myself questions. If Miss Wright was sitting right beside me, how would I know? And then I decided I would need to ask some questions to see if there were some compatibilities. And I had plenty of time on my hands. I came up with 1,000 questions. So I get on to Plenty of Fish, and you start dialoguing with them on the site, right? And then if you're lucky, you get a phone call. And if you're really, really lucky, you get a date, right? And so I'm a recovering banker, right? So I'm statistically inclined. So I'm keeping track, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And so I
gotta keep them in order.
I start asking the really benign questions, and they start getting them wrong. And I'm like, oh. And then eventually I'd have a phone call, and then I'd ask some of the little, more forward questions. Nothing really dramatic, but they would get them wrong. And then, long story short, 284 women later, I've had 3 dates, and none of them went well. And number 285 is a woman named Gabriella. And so I'm looking at her pictures going, oh, this is going to be a tough one, because I refuse to get emotionally involved with anybody until I figure out if they're compatible, because once you're emotionally involved or physically involved, it's too late. You're just in for some suffering down the road. Yeah. And so I reach out to her and I message her, and she said, after a couple of messages back and forth, she said, can we talk on the phone? Now, it's always the guy that asks that. So this was a little weird getting started. I said, sure. It's a Saturday morning. It's about 8 o'clock on a Saturday morning. And she get on the phone with her, and she said, listen, I'm really sorry. I'm going to need to be short with you. I'm on my way to work, but I wanted to invite you to lunch. Okay. So there's an occupation here in Vegas called Take Me to Dinner. And it's only women. Only women have that occupation. And that was how the first 3 dates went. Now she's inviting me to lunch. So I tested this. I said, well, that's really nice that you'd be willing to pay for lunch, but it's not necessary. She said, no, I insist. Okay. She said, here's the reason why. She said, I'm the wedding planner at Caesar's Palace, and I'm working today, and I've got a dozen weddings that I'm doing. I only have a half an hour for lunch. I'm going to inconvenience you. Locals don't like to go to the Strip. And so she said, I'm going to inconvenience you, ask you to come to Caesar's. We can eat at any restaurant that you want. My treat. I said, still nice, still not necessary. Any restaurant. I've never been in Caesar's Palace. I'm not a gambler. Tell me where to meet you. So we picked this little place called Paillard's, little French bistro. So we get there. She's got a walkie-talkie. And so they keep calling her and saying, hey, what about this wedding in ballroom, whatever. And she's like, handle it. So we get there at 11:30. they close at 3 for lunch and open at 6 for dinner. I get a tap on the shoulder at 3. Remember, she said she had a half an hour. I get a tap on the shoulder and say, "Monsieur, you must leave now. We are closed." And so I'm like, "What?" And so she said, "So you said you've never been in here. Let me show you around. I have 300,000 square feet of convention space that I manage. There are 7 pools. Let me take you for a tour." By the way, she's got high heels and a short skirt on. So I'm in, totally in. and so I'm like a puppy dog. I'm following her around, and I'm just trying to get up the courage to ask her for another. And I'm going to get to Gavin. I'm going to get to the workout thing in a minute.
Oh yeah, no, you're good. You're good.
So because it has to do with Gabriella, so I had to tell you the backstory about Gabriella. So she walks me around. Takes me to the elevator, and I say, "You want to go out tomorrow night?" And she said, "Sure." Real calm. I said, "Oh, okay." And just before the door closed, I put my hand in and I said, where do you want to go?" She said, "You pick it." I said, "I haven't been to the movies in a while," because I thought the movies were just a dating thing. So I hadn't been to the movies in like 8 years. And she said, so I took her to Red Rock and we went to the movies. And then we went to the place called the Brickyard, and we had some cocktails. And so now it's the second date, and I've asked her a lot of questions, and it's all working out. She's answering them all right. And I'm really kind of shocked. And then she said to me, "Hey, what are you doing tomorrow?" And I'm thinking, whatever you're doing, I'm doing, because I'm digging this chick. And so I said, "Well, I don't have any plans." She goes, "Okay, great. You want to go for a run with me? I'm training for a half marathon." I said, "Sure, when?" I should have inverted the 2 questions, because she said, "Fantastic. Meet me at Caesars at 6 a.m. tomorrow morning. We're going to run 3 miles down the strip." I had sneakers. I had no idea where they were. My idea of running was from the bedroom to the kitchen to get coffee in the morning. So I made it. And so I took her to, and I figured I made it. I must win the prize now, right? So I took her to breakfast, coffee, lunch, coffee, dinner. And at midnight, I was still asking her questions. And the last question, I said, "I'm going to take you home now. But the last question I have is, which one of my friends put you up to this? Because nobody should know the answer to all these questions. I asked you 1,000 questions." She said, "I have no idea what you're talking about." I said, "Yeah, I know. None of my friends know the answers to these questions either." Right. And so one of the questions I asked her was, "How do you feel about marriage?" She said, "I tried that a couple of times, didn't work out." I said, "Yeah, me too. Yeah." So 3 days later, I bought her a diamond. 5 weeks later, I married her. True story. Absolute true story. So we'll be married 10 years this July. But about 4 years ago, Gavin, here it comes. Ready?
Yeah.
She said she came home. She was the wedding planner at Caesar's Palace when I met her, right? She came home and she said, kind of wondering what it would be like to go to work in sneakers instead of high heels. I said, now I'm semi-retired. I have a president running LifeWorks University, so I don't really need to do anything. Yeah. And so I had plenty of time on my hands. So I said to her, "I'll be your study buddy." And, I just wanted to support her. And so she wanted to become a personal trainer for brides. She said, "I've done 2,500 weddings. None of them are ever happy with the way they look and feel in their dress. And they take pictures, thousands of dollars worth of pictures that they never show to anybody." She said, "If I was a personal trainer, I could help them." Yeah. So I'm a certified business coach with Tony Robbins. And so I had coached a lot of business people. And I said, "Honey, that is either the best idea I've ever heard or the worst. I've got to do a little research. I'm not really sure." Turns out 3 people in the country focus on brides. Turns out it's not a very good market, because if they're motivated at all, they're only motivated till I say I do, and then they're done. And so it doesn't make for a good long-term kind of, clientele. Yeah. But she said, "I really want to do this anyway." And so she started working with people in her industry. Before COVID, 100,000 people worked on that 3 miles we call the strip. 100,000 people in hospitality. They drink too much. They eat too much rich food. They smoke because they're under stress and horrible lifestyles. And so she started helping them get off their blood issue. Did you guys popped out? Okay,
yeah, we got some connection issues here for a second.
Okay. I was holding my breath. I'm like, get through.
I know.
Yeah. So she, forget where I was in the story, but anyway, I became a certified personal trainer, had no interest. Oh, she started working with her with her peers. Yeah. And she helped them get off their blood pressure medication, type 2 diabetes. People get their sugar was, perfect and all that kind of stuff. And she really, really liked it. She eventually decided she was going to go full time. And she became a personal training personal trainer at a gym, and then a personal training manager, and then they promote her to GM. She gets promoted wherever she goes, but she decided just after there was too much stress, she just wanted to be a personal trainer. But when I closed the university, I said, I've got to do something. I'm certified. I spent 30 years helping people build their wealth. I want to spend the next 30 years helping people build their health. And but I need to do that first. And so I went through a 90-day physical transformation. I lost 40 pounds of fat, gained 17 pounds of muscle, and I'm 63 years old. So that just happened. That just happened 6, 7, 8 months ago.
Congratulations.
Yeah. Thank you. And so I created a website, and it's called DonCoteFitness.com. And I said, I'm looking for people that are 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s. I don't really care. I just want to help. My life has been about helping people have freedom and independence. And that was financial freedom for a really long time. But now I wanted it to be about physical freedom, physical independence, to be able to, what you do at 40 and 50 governs whether you're going to be able to reach the top shelf in your kitchen at 90, whether you can drive your car at 90. And so I wanted to help people not make the same mistake I did. Fortunately, I'm on no meds. I have no pain in my body anywhere or anything. I eat all organic. I'm almost 100% plant-based. We happen to like fish. We love to go fishing, and we love fish.
Nice.
But other than that, we're all plant-based and pretty holistic, to be quite honest. And so I decided that's what I was going to do, at least until I could figure out, get this model channeled for what the new LifeWorks University is going to be. And we know what the new name is going to be. And so it's going to be called Superstar Producers. And because the metaphor that I used when I started LifeWorks back over 30 years ago was, if you wanted to live in a castle and there were no castles, you'd have to get a picture, create a blueprint, take action. Kind of an old metaphor now. So I said, whether you know it or not, when you're born into a movie called My Life.
Yeah.
And you may recognize you're the main character, but what they don't tell you is you're the producer. The producer is the one that finds the person to write the script, or that has a screenplay. And so you're really in charge of the screenplay. The screenplay dictates all the scripts. The screenplay dictates where the location is going to be, what the wardrobe is going to be, the casting, all that stuff. You have all those jobs, and you're the daily director. You get to direct the action every single day. And so I've been using that metaphor for a while, but that became the backdrop, if you will, for the new model. So we're planning to teach people how to become the screenwriter for their future. There's lots of different genres, but there's a genre where when you come into the movie, when the movie opens, the opening scene, sometimes it's the last scene of the movie where you end up there at the end, right? But then there's a flashback, and there was a history, and there's an ordinary person that all of a sudden runs into this adversity, and there's a turning point, and there's a transformation, and then they become the hero, and then they accomplish things that are superhuman. And I'm not talking about Avengers either. I'm just talking about like real people. They do superhuman things. Jessica was talking about I forget his name, the young man she was talking about, where she was so impressed with the adversities he overcome. And so this is what we're teaching people how to do, teaching them how to write a screenplay. Your history is your history up to this point. You pop into the movie, and now you're going to have this transformation. The caterpillar goes through the struggle and becomes the butterfly. And then you break out, and you have this life of your dreams. And we're going to show you exactly how to develop your character so that if you want to be the James Bond or the Tom Cruise or whoever, there's a character. They have certain character traits or characteristics. Right? We're going to show you how to figure out what those characteristics, who you need to become in order to live the life you want. Because if you are already that person, you already have that life.
Yeah.
That's all there is to it. So all of my background, all of my education, all of my experiences, all are kind of leading up to even the physical fitness part, because I was out of integrity, gentlemen. I was the person saying, you can have the best health, you can have the best relationships, you can have the best finances and all that kind of stuff. But I had what I call the executive pot belly. And I had my excuses, which I thought were valid, right? I travel too much. I've flown over 1 million miles. You can't eat right in airports. There's no place to exercise, blah, 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 bullshit. Yeah. And so I needed this moment in time to stop what we were doing, to get me in shape, to prove that it was possible, even in your 60s, to be able to have ultimate health. And even if you've lost your health, to get it back again. And that was kind of maybe the missing piece, I think. So it's kind of, the universe is a wonderful thing. And a good friend of mine who's been one of my coaches for probably going on 20 years now, it took her many years to get me to understand what allowing means. I was always that person that if it was broken, I needed to fix it. I would find a way, make a way, I was just going to get it done. And I got a lot of stuff done in my life. But when I finally figured out allowing, where I just allow the universe to be able to tell me what's next, magic happens. You guys probably have some questions for me, right?
We are actually at the end of the episode here.
It's top of the hour. Holy cow.
It is.
Time out. I got this. No, Don, I want you to feel good. You ready?
Yeah.
We're going to have some fun with this, all right? So Gavin and I are going to be in Vegas at the end of June. I created a CBD company that is unlike any other. It's won 3 international awards and a digital award. I would like to take you personally to breakfast and be able to talk with you and then have you back on the show because, Don, I usually have jokes. I was literally like, if I make people laugh to keep the energy calm, but you have such a presence.
Yeah.
I thank you for starting our day with this. With Napoleon Hill, I do have one question, and then we'll do our outs, Gavin, okay? Have you read Outwitting the Devil?
I have an autographed copy from Sharon Lecter. I actually have 2, one for me and one for my wife.
I'm going to hug you, and I hope you understand. I'm COVID-free, but I'm a hugger, too.
Good. Me too.
Don, you and I are sitting here, and Gavin and I are listening. You have brought so much great stuff, and I just want you to know you hit so many things we talk about. I loved that you were on the show today because you have that fire in you that everybody's looking for. Excuse us while Brandon fangirls. Yes, don't blame me.
Yeah,
okay?
me too.
Leave it alone. He literally is the epitome of he's saying what we talk about. Yeah. This is why we have our network that we do. This is why the DDC existed, is because of how he took his mentality and made it. That's what this was built on. So for me, my final thoughts of the day, for changing the world, go share this episode. And I never say that to everybody. I literally give you guys say it's to make yourself better and say, hey, love yourself, da-da-da-da. I didn't even use my F word yesterday. I'm using one today right now. Get this fucking shared, because the truth is, guys, people need to hear those words. They need to know this energy that's there, because this is how we change the world, by starting with ourselves. I'm Brandon. Gavin's going to do his goodbye now. And then Don, you get to tell everybody. Yep. I don't even know how he can top what he's done, but just
a final word to send people off with,
inspiring word, but you've already done so many. So Gavin, you're next, and then damn, Don, thank you.
You bet.
Yeah.
So thank you guys for having me, because this gives me a chance to be able to share the gift that I was given from the universe to help people live the life of their dreams. If you want to reach out to me, DonCoteFitness.com. If you know anybody who would like to get their health back or take their health to the next level, I'd love to talk to them.
Yeah. Oh, I love it. You have already been requested that Jessica Dugas be on the show with you next time you're on.
Nice. I would love that.
I love it. Nice. All right, Gavin, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, you're good. Wow. Where to start? I mean, there was so much to unpack with this whole thing, and I really do wish we had more time. We probably could have easily taken up at least a couple more hours. In all honesty,
I have
talking
a couple more stories I could share.
I'm sure you do. Man.
I want them. We do.
I think your life just goes to show that as long as you have that survivor mentality, there isn't anything that you can't overcome except for death at this point. And this goes not even just you or me or Brandon, but humans in general. until you die, there is always something that you could figure out how to do. There is always something that you could do to either, if not for yourself, for other people, to inspire other people. A lot of what you've done, a lot of things that you're doing that has made you who you are and given you all your success. I know that at points in your life, your goal was success, but then it's gotten to a point where now it seems like your goal isn't success. Your goal is to make other people successful, and that's where your success is. The happiness, the money, the stability, all that comes as a byproduct of you serving other people by giving them the tools, by giving them what they need to hear to be motivated, to work out, to start their business, to get out of bed in the morning. And that's really what it's about. That's really what it's about in life. It is about serving others and having a goal that the byproducts are what everybody else chases. Everybody thinks that happiness, that money, that's the goal. No, those are the byproducts of your goals. And you are a prime example of getting knocked down, but still focusing on your goals and achieving those, and then achieving those wonderful byproducts of those goals. So thank you for being on the show today. It was an absolute pleasure to have you on.
Thanks for having me, guys. This was such a fun time.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to take us out here. I want to thank everybody who watched, everybody who commented. Please share this video. Share it around. A lot of people need to hear it. You got this amazing experience absolutely for free. You know, a click of a button takes no efforts. Don, thank you again. We will be visiting you out there in Vegas later this year. Gonna have a wonderful conversation, gonna get some food. I'm very excited. Brandon's very excited. Thank you, Jessica, for being on. Don't forget to go watch her show over there, the Breakthrough Show. And we will see you guys all next time. Have a wonderful day.
Bye for
Stay
now.
safe.